What's going on? My name is Jack's Wisdom, and today we're going to be discussing the book How to Think Like Socrates by Donald J. Robertson. Now, there is one key question that is going to be sort of framing my discussion of this book today, and I bet you can't guess what that question is. This elusive question is, what does it mean to think like Socrates? After analyzing the book, I have come up with three key pillars that I think sort of synthesize what I learned about Socrates as a thinker. That means that in this video, I'm going to be going over each of those three pillars in detail, and then finally at the end, I will present what I've come up with for the final answer to that initial question. With that being said, let's go ahead and get started. So the first pillar, which represents the first thing I noticed about Socrates whenever reading the book, was his composure whenever he or his beliefs were being challenged. The quote I found that best highlights this comes in the first section of the book titled The Trial on page 20, in a scene where Socrates is on trial and being actively prosecuted for his beliefs. The quote reads, "Enraged jury members press against the railing, eyes blazing as they noisily spit insults at the accused philosopher. Socrates, though now in his 70s, is completely unfazed. He glares at them and speaks with unapologetic self-assurance." I feel like this quote is sort of a case where the proof is in the pudding, so to be honest, I don't really think there's much explaining I really need to do here. As I kind of explained earlier though, this quote very clearly demonstrates how Socrates is confident in what he believes in, and how he doesn't really succumb to pressure from others to change what he believes in. To me, this is one of Socrates' most distinct character traits that is visible within the book, and I think it is absolutely crucial to understanding him as a thinker. Another one of Socrates' most important qualities, and the second pillar that I have listed here, is his ability to accept the uncomfortable. I found a quote that supports this notion on page 117 of section 5 of the book, which is titled "The Wisest Man Alive." This quote comes directly from Socrates himself, and it says, "About the gods, I am able to know neither that they exist, nor that they do not exist, nor what kind they are in form. For many things prevent me from knowing this, its obscurity and the brevity of man's life." I'm not a philosopher myself yet, but I would imagine that the topic of gods and religion comes up quite a bit in different philosophical discussions. Due to this, I find it interesting that Socrates, one of the most famous philosophers, chooses not to even concern himself with the question of God at all, really. He simply acknowledges that many different aspects regarding the existence of God are unknowable. This idea wouldn't exactly be very easy for everyone to just accept. However, throughout the book, it becomes evident that Socrates is very comfortable accepting these sort of realities. Socrates' ability to accept the uncomfortable makes him unique, and it is another key clue in uncovering the true means of how he thinks. The third and final pillar is Socrates' dedication to truth and his philosophical integrity. For this one, I have two quotes, which both come from the 11th section of the book titled The Swan Song. For context, within the passage from which both these quotes were taken, a younger philosopher, Phaedo, was talking to Socrates, and they were both reflecting on the final years of Socrates' life. In the first quote, Phaedo says, "Until that time, you had spent most of your mornings walking on the streets outside the courtyard wall, where you discussed philosophy with anyone who was willing, rich and poor, Athenian and foreigner alike." In the second quote, Phaedo says, "Although witnessing the death of a man who had been my good friend, I had no feelings of pity. You were happy, both in your words and actions, and your death appeared beautiful and without fear. As soon as you began talking, the conversation turned to philosophy once again." Both these quotes truly show just how dedicated Socrates was to philosophy even in the final years of his life. The only thing he wanted to do, even while being imprisoned and awaiting a death sentence, was walk around outside the courtyard walls and talk to people about philosophy. Additionally, even though his beliefs and the things that he said during his career as a philosopher were a lot of the reason why he was convicted and eventually sentenced to death, it appears that Socrates really had no regrets about anything that he said, and he was very accepting of his fate, especially in his final moments whenever death was rapidly approaching. With that being said, we have now arrived at the end of the video, and it is finally time for me to answer the question that was proposed originally, what does it mean to think like Socrates? Well, in synthesis of my three pillars, I would say that if that's right, you want to be able to think like Socrates, you need to, first of all, stand up for what you believe in. You need to be able to deal with realizations that aren't exactly the most comfortable for you. And you also need to just love the study of philosophy more than anything else in the world. So, if you think you can do those things, that means that you have what it takes to be just like Socrates. I wish you good luck, and I definitely believe in you. But beyond that, I think that's about all I have to say. So thank you for listening, and have a good day.